is going on, everybody? Welcome to another ADSR stream, another Thursday morning. My name is Taetro, if you don't know me. If you have been tuning in to the past few Thursday streams, we've been basically building a beat from scratch. That's how we started. We worked on beat making and creating loops. And then we moved on to arranging that beat, doing a little bit of mixing and mastering. And that's what we focused on last week, but as you can see here, I left a little bridge section blank because today we are going to talk all about B sections and how to break out of that loop and how to get into making a contrasting section, because I think especially for Ableton users, that is one of the hardest things. Is you go from using session view here, like I'm doing, with a bunch of loops, and then how do we get that to be an actual track? You can see this is what we started with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drum loops. And that actually was enough of foundation to build us up to a full almost 3-minute long track. But here's that section that I told you. It's blank. We got to fill that in with something, and hopefully it's something beyond just the loops that we've already created. That's the whole purpose of today's stream. But before we get into it, let's check in with the chat and see who's here. I will be answering questions and chatting with you guys from everywhere this stream is streaming. So I've got Facebook and Twitch chat over here on my phone, and I've got YouTube chat here on my iPad. So let's see who's here. Camilo, welcome. I know you were looking forward to this. Steve, nice to see you. Lost. Oh, not morning for you. Sorry. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, no matter where you're listening from. Hopefully you're in it to have a good time. I was having a couple technical issues before the stream started, so be patient. If something freezes or something, just let me know in chat, and I'll fix it as soon as I can. But if you guys are ready, we can actually review. I know I did like a surface level overview of what we've been doing, but let's actually dig into the project and we can take a look at exactly what's happening here. So like I said, the way we started was by building up some loops. We came up with this melody loop. We added some pads. Then we added a bass line. Some drums. And this stuff on top. Final layer being these high bells. Can totally turn up the Ableton volume. Yep. Simple enough, right? So the main lesson there was let's build up some loops that all have their own place. You know, we talk about mixing and EQing and that stuff, but mixing is also about the orchestration of the track. So if you have a melody, it's not too high, it's basically in the middle. This is like a mid-range melody. You have some chords in the form of these pads, which is the bed for that melody to lie on. The rock bottom bass, which follows the chord progression of the pads. The drums, of course, which give us our groove. They tell us how to move, right? And then the high content, the high stuff, which floats on top. Everything has its own place. And as you can see, I grouped these, right? So I grouped the high stuff because they're really kind of the same thing. Same with the drums. But when it comes down to it, there's really only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 musical ideas. 5 layers of sound. The high stuff, the pads, the melody, the bass, and the drums. And we don't need 20 tracks. We kind of made it through. And then how does that get to this huge arrangement there? Let's talk about that. Sorry if the screen's a little glitchy. I'm seeing it kind of glitch a little bit, but Hopefully it survives for now. I think I might have to get a new HDMI cable or something, but it's odd. It of course only happens when I start streaming. So I'm gonna hit play here so I can hear the arrangement. I'm gonna unsolo that. Now, if you notice just the general shape. All right, here, I'm gonna switch back to this. I'm just gonna adjust my HDMI cable. What we really wanna look at is the overall shape of the arrangement and what's coming in when. There we go. We want to look at the shape and structure. So kind of ignore what's coming in when and just look at the shape. So we have, I will expand these. We have basically a build, right? Let me expand that. It's easier to look at it up here. A couple layers turns into 4 layers. Turns into a sort of different section of layers, but it's building, right? Over time, things are dropping out, things are coming in. That's how you do that with only, what is it, about 7 loops, 5 solid musical sections, but within that 7 loops. So we're building, we're pulling things out, and we're eventually landing at something that we call a chorus or a hook, right? So the chorus of the hook, which is this section right here, you can see that that's the most dense section. So as opposed to an intro, which is really light, play a chorus. Like most of the things, most of the musical ideas are in here. And that gives us a contrast, even though it's a lot of the same musical ideas, to this verse. Notice the beat changes a little bit, it gets less dense. So we're basically playing with density to arrange with different loops. And that's a really easy way to get out of session view, is just start playing with the density, which loops are playing at what time, which work really well together, and then can you build to a section where almost everything is in. Some more folks in the chat. What's up? What's up, Benson? Thanks. I'm glad you like the lighting. What is going on? Nicosianti. Hope I got that right. Feel free to correct me in the chat. And then, of course, we're going to build up to this empty section, which we've allotted 16 bars for, right? So I was able to take the hook and double it over here because we know that that's how our song's going to end. We don't have to work 100% chronologically in arrangement view. We can have ideas in mind that we're not necessarily going to work on right now, leave space for them like I did with this bridge, save it for later, and then know that, okay, we are going to come back to a hook. And as you can see, when all is said and done, this track is going to be the length of a quote-unquote full track, whatever that means to you, but to me that means just over 3 minutes. But how do we find that B section? It's completely blank right now, right? Because the whole point of a bridge or a B section, the bridge especially, the bridge is the turning point of the song. The bridge should absolutely contrast. It's not necessarily the same thing as a B section, but for our purposes today, since this is going to be the only super contrasting section of the track, we're going to use this bridge sections to demonstrate it. But basically what you want from your B section is for it to be very different from the rest of your song. And I don't necessarily mean different in sounds. Like, we can introduce new sounds, but we can also use the sounds that we already have to introduce new musical ideas. So one thing to note, one thing that's carrying us through the whole track is the bass line or chord progression. So let's go ahead and just listen to that chord progression again real quick on its own. And then the bass line follows that, right? It has that same motion. what is up? Priyadarshi. I think I got that right. Nice to see you over in Facebook chat. So that's going to be where I'm going to start to make a different idea. Let me see if I can remember what I played here. Yeah, is that a C minor chord? I can just look right here. So originally, we're in C sharp minor. I can go ahead and swap that. Yep. And then we go down to an F sharp. And basically, the main section plays off those two chords. So what if, instead of playing off those two chords alone, we instead built a different chord progression? Now, here's where having a background in music theory will absolutely help you. Because what I'm going to talk about today is how to make that contrasting chord progression. Initially, C sharp minor, right? And if we think about what scale that's the part of, let's think about it in terms of a major scale. If we think about E major, the notes in E major, do, re, mi, fa, so, right? Do, re. If we count up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On 6, we land on that minor. That's the same for every key. The 6 is the relative minor. We build off a chord on that note. If I start playing triads or chords down in this key, so I go from C sharp minor to B major, which is the 5, the dominant chord in this key, to A, which is the 4, what we have are some chords that we haven't used yet, namely B major and A major, that will actually be really effective for our B section. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go back to the screen, but I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate the drum loop for us to listen to. I might not use the exact same drums that we've been using for this section, but I will use them as the backbone to building up my idea. Oop, that was not the drums. So I'm just literally duplicating drums to listen to. And we'll loop this section. So now originally we had C sharp minor to F sharp minor. Right? Let's take this in a different direction on the next time around. Go from F sharp minor to A. Now, suddenly, we have a chord progression that hasn't shown up at all yet in this track. We're about 2 minutes into the track, ready for a change. And using the chords in that same key, we found an alternative. And if some of this music theory stuff is going over your head, don't worry too much. Think about it this way. Every song that you play, every song that you listen to is in a key. And the simplest version of that means there's only 7 notes you can play in that key. For us today, we're in E. That means the only 7 notes we can play are E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. Now, using only those notes, we can combine. Oh, I can't use that D because it's not in the right key. I can use D sharp. I can combine the notes of that scale to make different chords. And like I said before with the counting, each number note in this can have a chord built off of it. And the most common chords in pop music are 1, the 1 chord, the first, built off the first note in the chord. First note in the scale, I apologize. The 5 chord, built off the 5th note in the scale. The sixth, which as you can see has a darker tone because it's the minor, it's the relative minor chord. Everything else has been major. And then the fourth, which is built off the fourth note in the scale. So you think about these chords: 1, 5, 6, 4. And if you've ever heard a song on the radio that's like, oh, that song sounds like that song and can be easily mashed up with another song, it's likely because they share the same chord progression regardless of what key they're in. 5, 6, 4. But like I said, there's chords going all the way up the scale. So of course we're using F sharp minor in our chord progression originally. That's because that's the 2 chord, which is another very useful and common chord. But since I'm thinking of this as a songwriter and as an arranger now, right? If I know that I only used the 6 chord and the 2 chord, and I'm thinking about, all right, let's come up with a new chord progression for a new section. I'm gonna think about what chords in the scale are common and what chords should I move to. I could move to E major, but that doesn't match the mood of the song. So far, I've only played minor chords, and to play this one chord, which is the tonic, which is like a very triumphant sound in this key, I'm instead thinking about how can I play something with motion, which means I go to the 4 chord. Why do I go to the 4 chord? Because I can easily build to the 5 chord, and the 5 chord can either resolve back on that relative minor, or it can go back down to the F sharp minor. So I'm thinking about the mood and the tone of the song. It would be super weird, maybe it's to your taste, to switch from a super minor moody song to all of a sudden having a big one happy chord. So that's enough talking about that music theory stuff. Let me go ahead and record the chord progression. So like I said, I'm gonna do a build, right? Keep these drums rolling. And suddenly we have a chord progression we can use. I only played for half of the phrase, half of the section, but I'll go ahead and quantize that. And we can go ahead and duplicate it. Oops, I duplicated the notes instead. Come on, duplicate it. There we go. And keep in mind here, I'm using this pad sound to play chords, just like I've been doing for the rest. So if you think about this in any other traditional setting, you have a guitar in a rock band, right? They're playing chords. When it switches sections, you don't find a new instrument to put into that section. The guitar continues to play chords. They just play different chords. That's why I'm thinking about the sounds that we already have here. Now, what I would probably do is create a very simple bass line that follows those chords. So I'm going to go ahead and follow that chord progression, but lower. And suddenly we're locked in, literally just following the bass note of those chords. Let's go ahead and record that. Should have repeated it. Alright, I might make a couple edits to these notes, but overall I'm kind of happy with it. Notice that I'm ending on that snare, which I think has a nice effect. But the chord reattacks, and I want my bass line to follow that. So I'll duplicate that note. That one was a little ahead. I can actually quantize this. As soon as we finish up with this bass line, let's dip into chat. I'll answer some questions. Now, I don't like that this note repeats when the phrase ends. I'm gonna go ahead and make this an even 8-bar loop anyway. But maybe this could, instead of being 4, 4, jump up to the 5. Or I don't like that walk up. I kind of like it more up, down. Great. Now we have a bridge bass line. Now, one thing I want to think about before we leave the bass line is I do want, eventually this bridge, this B section, builds to the final chorus, and we want that to be a really epic build because we want that sense of release once we land back on familiar ground with the hook. So for the second half of the bass, what I'm thinking is, instead of doing the thing where we do short notes that stop on the snare, I actually might do single long notes. So make this legato. Yep, I'm gonna do that throughout. So instead of double hitting the note and making them shorter, I am going to make them long, which will add a different kind of motion to this second half of the bridge. Can hear how that's really different. Same musical idea. All we did was adjust the note lengths and the frequency and not doubling them. Alright, like I said, let's dip into chat. Let me loop a section of this song while we do that. Alright, I'll check YouTube chat first. What is going on? Cranks Beats. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Thanks. I think that's a compliment. Cubic, it can also go to the 4th chord. Yeah, there's lots of options with these chord progressions for sure. Let's loop the hook. There we go. Yeah. The Casino Inc. maybe. Did I get it? Oh, hopefully you were able to reload and it's working now for your internet. I have no idea what's going on, but hello. Oh, what's a B section? Maybe that's something good to cover. What is a B section? That's what we're working on today. A B section is the section of the track that completely contrasts the original part of the track, the original main idea of the track. So if you think about radio hits, right, you have the verse and the chorus, which can usually be kind of the same. Then you have like a bridge section, the turning point of a song, and it's usually very different. It usually diverges into a different area, either lyrically or musically. And that's one type of B section, but songs can also have structures like A, B, A. So the A section, meaning the main section that you came up with, the B section, its main purpose is to contrast that A section, give the listener something interesting to listen to, and go on a bit of a musical journey. The reason this is important for us as electronic music producers, and especially Ableton producers, is because a lot of the times we work in our, musical sketchbook, Ableton Live Session View, which is all built up of loops. And once we get stuck in a loop, and we usually get stuck in one section, an A section. And then when it comes time to arrange and make a full track, it doesn't sound that interesting because we're stuck with only one section of loops. So what we've done is started to arrange the initial A section of loops, and we were actually able to use the loops that we created to build up an intro, a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus, and then repeat that structure because that's traditional song structure, right? All that off of one kind of pass through some musical ideas, one A section. But now we're 2 minutes into the song, and if we just keep repeating stuff, it's going to be super boring and our track's not going to go anywhere. So I built in this section right here, this 16 bars called the bridge, that is going to be totally different than the original section. Of course, I'm not showing the screen. We have the bridge right here, right? And everything else before it was built off of intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then repeats. Now for the bridge, something completely different. So for you to just hear that so far, the original chorus sounds like this. But the reason this is important, the verse is just a reduced version of that. It's kind of the same musical ideas with some slightly different window dressing. Meanwhile, we're going to do a bridge now, which goes to a different place harmonically. Raymond Adam Bickford said, sounds good, thank you. And Thorleaf, hello, Thorleaf Larson, thank you for joining on Facebook. Raymond, if all your tracks are loops and repetitive, go back onto ADSR's channel, YouTube channel. For the last 2 weeks, we started with nothing. So what you're hearing today, we built over the course of these last 3 live streams. We started with nothing. We built up loops, just like you're saying, because I used to have the same problem, getting caught in the loop, getting stuck, repeating things over and over again. And then we took that section of loops. This is what we started with. Look, if you think you're stuck with loops, look at my session view here. It's only like loops. It's like one scene of loops, basically. So if you have projects that look like that, tune back into the past 2 streams because we took these loops and turned them into this. And today's focus, which we'll get back into in a minute, is building that B section so it has somewhere to go. So it's 2 things, right? It's you can use your loops to build up different sections over time, and there's ways to do that, which we covered last week. And then you can also create sections in your music that you approach with the idea that they're going to contrast. They're going to be different and you're going to build up something new. That's your B section. And like we're doing today, it's very, very easy. When you just think about what's already happening in your song and how can we just do something that's different but still make sense in the context of your track. So far for our B section, let's get back into it. We've created the chord progression, and we've got drums playing, which I'll keep for now as a placeholder. I am weary that if I keep those drums there, that I might not change them. But how much time we got? All right, we got about a half hour more. I think we can build up a pretty substantial bridge from here. Just kind of improvising a melody over this. So that's what I'm going to do. That's going to be my process for coming up with a musical idea for this section. Remember, the main thinking is I know what key I'm in. I know I'm in E major, C sharp minor, same collection of 7 notes. I'm going to keep my fingers locked to those notes. I'm also going to follow the same kind of rule I did with the bass and do shorter, jumpier, more motion in this top half of the bridge, and then go for longer, more drawn out notes in the second half. We want everything to be in the same world, you know? So I'm just going to loop this and record. I'm going to loop this and record, and let's try to come up with some stuff. Cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's dig in. I know I messed up a couple times in there, but let's see if we can fix it with some quantize. Ah, darn, you know what it did? It kept recording right around. Let me move this over here. I want to think of the easiest way to do this. Yeah, I'm going to cut that. All right, I didn't like that first phrase anyway. All right, let me go ahead and pop that back in here. Boom, we go here. Cool, I'm just gonna record one little phrase for the top. Not that much, cool. Repeat it. See, these phrases end, stop, end. They end on that snare. But now look at this second half. Now we're holding notes out. And this is very melodic and poppy, so this might not even work for something with a vocalist on it. And right now that chorus that we led into sounds very abrupt. So I'm actually going to consolidate these clips so they're one thing. I'm going to go ahead and quantize, but I want to make sure it's not too much quantization. Let's go ahead and bring it down. Cool. The first thing I'm noticing is that this hi-hat doesn't make sense for the first half, because actually the steady hi-hat has the same effect of holding a note out long. I think it has a sustained groove feel, where I want the groove to be a little more choppy for the first half of the bridge. Timothy Miranda, thank you for that tip. My method of knowing how much to quantize, it depends. So for this melody in particular, that's like a scooped note, right? I know that that's not going to align to a grid. Meanwhile, if I was playing I would quantize that 100% because I want that on a grid. But something like this, I need to bring it down to like 60-70%. That's basically my method there. See what I mean? We took out that hi-hat so it doesn't have that sustained groove anymore. Here, in the second half, I'm already hearing another layer. I'm hearing things we can do with the drums and chop it up for that first section, but here for the second section, it's really important that it feels more full. And what's missing from filling this section up is the high content. So again, using the same exact instruments that we already had. I might try to do the high pads instead. Cool. Actually, what I might even be able to do is copy the pads and put them on high pads, which is what we did in the first place. We're obviously gonna do them octave up, holding shift and then pressing up on my keyboard for that. And instead of doubling them, we're gonna hold them. Sensing a common theme here. Cool. Slowly getting there. We're slowly getting there. We're not quite there yet. What I would say at this stage in the production, right? So let's hear the chorus we came from and the bridge we're going to. So this is the main chorus. This is everything we've been working on already. Not only is it contrasting because of the musical ideas, but that shortness to off. That in itself is a contrast because everything else has been long and drawn out. So that was just the first half of that bridge there, but I like the transition so far. It sounds a little cut and pasty, like we went from section to section, right? And the way we smooth that out is the same way we did it in the first place with the loops we already had. We used these risers and these bells and whistles, which is what we called them last week. To be even more effective on that riser, let's automate that volume to stop when everything else stops. I'm gonna grab the volume to automate. Actually, I'm gonna automate the utility because I have good habits. So listen to what beat it should cut off on. 2, 3. I want it to cut off with that snare. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So I grab this section of the sound. I'm even gonna extend a little bit in case the reverb tail goes far. Just boom, bring it straight down. Let's listen to how effective this is. There we go. Another thing we could even do is bring this back up. Let me see if we like this. This is actually a fun trick. I love how it said it cut off, but now imagine if it cut off and then the rest of the tail came back in. And then just this is just an idea I'm going with, right? But then I'm going to cut it off again at the next snare. I think it'll sound good. Off, on, off. And then for the last time, there'll be a little bit of reverb tail left here. I'll bring it in. This is just a fun little sound design thing. There we go. So the bells and whistles really help link together the sections. suddenly here's our bridge. And suddenly, those bells and whistles make it not seem so jarring that we're suddenly switching to another chord progression. Here's where, so far, we've been able to use just the instruments that we already had in the project for this B section, but it is nice to bring one extra layer that, you know, is new just for this new section. So I think with this project, we've been mostly using stuff that comes in Ableton Live Suite, like the default Ableton stuff, and you can get that for free right now for 90 days at ableton.com. So make sure you take advantage of the trial during this quarantine time. But I'm going to go ahead and add another layer. And what do I want? What do I want? I think it's got to be like synthy, like it could be another pad essentially. Because it's got to be something dense. It can't be another lead really. It could be keys. I'm going to start with pad. I'm just going to scan through some sounds. Maybe. I always like that sound. I gotta make sure it fits in the mix, so I'm gonna bring it down to like -13, roll out the lows because I don't need them. Arm this track. Oh, that sounds rough. Let me try that pad. Nope, let's just work on the bridge. I'm just gonna noodle over the bridge a little bit. And this is gonna be for the second half. It's gotta be even lower. But the one thing it doesn't have is side chain. So let's go ahead and get that on there before we forget. Now we can pump with the kick drum. And you know what I actually might want here is more motion, which means I'm probably going to add a arpeggiator. So I might not even use this pad sound that we were on. Let's go ahead and add the arpeggiator. I want something, so in this case I might go for more of a lead because I don't want a melodic lead, I really want motion. Even a keys sound could work. Oops. Let me just try to put that arpeggiator back. That could work for us, but let's go faster. 16th notes. Volume, we gotta bring it up. Alright, this is one of the limitations of having a little mini keyboard is I can't play like big chords, but let's see what we can finesse here. I think I can make that work. I think I'm going to take out one of the notes that I played. It's obviously got to come down. Maybe even add some delay so there's more motion. And let's go ahead and add another riser. I used this one over here in the intro and haven't used it since, so it seems like using it again here is fitting. Again, bells and whistles are going to help us move from section to section. Threshold clipping on the sidechain, it doesn't matter. You're really just using it as the, it's not affecting the sound, it's only affecting how it pumps. It's not affecting, we're not compressing the sound with the sidechain compressor. So if I wanted to take that signal from the kick drum really intensely, I bring that threshold down and it you know, clips, quote unquote, but that doesn't matter for our sound. It only affects how it pumps. So here, I'm thinking we need more drama, which means I'm going to drop out these hi-hats again. And I am going to use this bell layer again. Make sure I arm it. I'm just going to add that content there because it needs to be there, I think. That, make it super loud. Suddenly we have a section that is completely different. And if we wanted to make this really fancy, let me add this one more layer and I'm going to dip into chat and answer some of the questions, and we're going to kind of come to an end here because we've already done the bridge. We're coming to the end of the hour. We'll just search for a sample. These are again samples that, this one at least, is a decap sample that comes with the Beat Tools pack on Ableton Live Suite. To emphasize that beat, oh, that's way too loud, sorry. Let's make it low. And let's automate the gain. Let's get rid of it. Here, boom. I don't like that. Thought I would. It absolutely needs the sidechain compressor on it, just in case. Find one more. Notice I'm gonna follow that snare now. Oop, I missed it. I'm just messing around now, guys, to make something a little more interesting than, you know, just instruments playing, a little sound designy stuff. Let's try that one. Right there. make this one a little different so we can, I'm gonna make sure the samples are warped so that I can mess with their pitch and not have them move in time. And we'll add one more thing, which we did last week with a riser. We'll do it again with this vocal sample, is we will automate this auto pan to make like a helicopter effect almost. Builds it up over time. And we'll bring the rate. I want the rate to go up over time as well, but let's work in note length. Boom, right here. Let's automate it. Oh, not that high. There we go. Not too much. Boom. I like it. I know I have a low bass hit sample here, the drop. Let's add that. Suddenly, this becomes a little more interesting, right? So you can see how if we actually just copied this over and used it, I might not copy it verbatim like this. I might instead now go back into samples, type in voice or even vocal, and keep the same pattern, but swap out the sample. I actually really like that. Let's swap that. Get rid of it. Keep this one. And you know, if we weren't on the time crunch of being in the hour-long stream, right? I would do a little more here. But that's just one other type of bells and whistles that can add to this B section. We weren't using vocal samples elsewhere, except for a one shot in the drums later. You want to do something, here we go. So here's final thoughts, right? Is we built up this bridge. Let's carry something over from the bridge to the new section. And I'm gonna do a super, I won't say cliche thing, but a very common stylistic thing. Offbeat chants. Which is usually not my style, but I heard the sample. And I think it could actually help us take the track to the next level. Because you got to think about this. The final section of your song should leave the listener feeling like, wow, I just went on a freaking journey. Let me listen to that song again. We shouldn't just be leaving them with more repeated stuff. So what can we bring to the end that's slightly different than what they've already heard, but familiar? Oh, I messed that up. Alright, I'm just gonna copy this section. But there's no reason that cannot carry over. As we're finishing this track, guys, I am going to take some time to dip into chat, so don't worry, we're not going to cut off hard at 11. And to make this less monotonous, let's use automation on the filter to filter it out before we get to the hook. Here's my question. I think there's a drum loop that I never used. Let's throw that on there for sure. I don't know why I didn't use that. Maybe we saved the best for last, right? We might be finishing this track today, folks. Yeah, Knox Plays just asked, are we automating the hi-hat frequency? We're actually automating the transposition on the clip. We did that last week, so like I said, guys, make sure you go check out my last 2 streams with ADSR. Here's the pitch automation on the hi-hat. Because we built this track up from scratch. Like, we started from nothing and we built this on stream, so. So again, we got some ideas. Now you know what I might even do? This synth, it's gonna be as simple as grabbing this pad loop and putting it here. Let's just see what happens. Eek. Okay, it's bad, first of all. But what if we bring it down an octave? And we also lower the volume on it. Just one more layer, so you notice, like, the chorus is the most dense part of the track. The last chorus has to be even more dense than that if you want that triumphant ending. I mean, I could even do this. If I wanted these chants to sound a little less monotonous, I could consolidate them. Let's consolidate this section of them, right? I just highlighted them all. Now I'm going to put them all in one single clip. What if we just transpose them down? And I'm not loving that. I'm gonna forget that idea. That's okay. Make quick decisions. Of course, I'm only listening to this on headphones. It's not a final mix or anything. I'm filtering it out a little bit just to bury it in the background so it's still there, we still hear it, But boom, there we go. We have a over 3-minute long track. Let's do a quick little outro, which is just as easy as doing the intro. And we actually might borrow this from the bridge. We're not gonna have a melody. I actually want it to be a super sparing outro. Let's copy this section of chants. Oops. That section of chants. That's just funny. All right, where is my stuff? Bass. I know how we're gonna end this. Got you. Ready? We're consolidating this clip. Sorry guys, I'm in the zone. I know I haven't been dipping into chat, but I'm definitely going to. We're gonna automate this the same way we automated the hi-hats. We're gonna automate the transposition, and these chants are gonna just sync. And we're not even gonna... And we're gonna build up this delay over time, the send delay. Hello, please automate, because I need a little bit more of a tail there. And that's how we'll end. Let's listen to what we did today. So today we finalized the bridge, we made a B section, and then we took ideas from that bridge and brought them in to the end. There's one more thing we have to do before we listen to the end. We're so close. Here's what I'm gonna do, which I don't think this is the best way to do this. It's the fastest way. I'm grouping all the instruments. Yep, grouped all the instruments. I'm gonna cut them all out at a certain point. Like this. But what I want to do is actually take the drums out of that group. Go here. There we go. Do we want to do that before that happens too? There we go. That's the track. Type out your lyrics. All right, let's dip into chat. Boom. Just for clarity, let's go ahead and add a locator. Final chorus. because it's a double chorus, I am going to have this extra layer come in halfway through. Ending. Doesn't really make sense to do there. Oh, 3 sessions, my friends. 3 sessions. That's what it took to make this track. 3-hour-long-ish sessions, right? We started. Let's just make some loops. First stream, right? We just made some loops. We talked about like orchestration and how to come up with these musical ideas and where they all fit together. Second stream, we started this arrangement. We even did a little bit of a mix and a master. Third stream, we added a B section. That's what we did today. We added a bridge. Let's go from the beginning. Should I answer questions while we listen? Try to show as much on screen as possible. It's kind of tough though. The Casino Inc. asks, where can I get the song layout? Arrangement layout. I didn't do anything fancy. I just added a locator, which you saw me do before, and I'm just going off of doing everything or in 4, 8, or 16 bar sections and keeping that consistent. What you should do is listen to a song you love and analyze the structure of it. Does it go verse, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, etc. As long as you can count to 8, you can make this same arrangement. Kane Beats, welcome to the stream. Hope I caught ya. Do I speak Turkish? Unfortunately, no. I'm sorry. Here comes our bridge, what we worked on today. Let's listen. More motion. Building up to our final chorus. F. Schmidick, thank you. And outro. There we go. We got like that classic pop music structure and length, almost at like 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Time to find a vocalist for it. If you know anybody, tell them to check out the stream and the beat and let them know. Raymond Adam Bickford asks, do you feel this whole quarantine has made you more or less productive in producing tracks? It's hard to say because I do a lot of other things other than just producing tracks. It's made me more productive with content. I'm here streaming, I'm doing more streams. Actually, the pressure is on to interact with community and stuff more, so I've been producing tracks on stream, but not really taking a lot of time to myself to produce. So it's give and take, but I'm in a very fortunate position given this whole situation. So I'm grateful for whatever I got. Hopefully this helped you come up with an idea of how to break out of the loop and create a B section. Like I said, if you are just tuning into this stream and you didn't catch the past 2 streams, they're up on ADSR's channel. And you can see this whole beat get made from scratch. Essentially what you'll have is like 3 hours of from scratch beat making. You know, like how to take your beat from loops, make some loops, make them sound good, arrange them, and then make it not super repetitive, mix and master. Super light on the mixing and mastering, right? But enough to get you out the door with some high quality sounds. Really appreciate everyone coming through. If you don't know, my name is Taetro, and I have my own music channel where I do music production tutorials just like this, live streams just like this. It's youtube.com/Taetro, Taetro. You can find it in the description of this live stream on YouTube, or you know, you can find me on Instagram at Taetro, Taetro. This has been another great stream. We'll have to think about a subject for next week, but if you have ideas, feel free to DM me or shoot me a tweet at Nick Taetro. And I'm open to ideas for sure. We'll let this song play out one more time so we can hear the bridge we did. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Taetro, Taetro. Come find me on YouTube, find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. Let me know you saw this stream, especially if you're new and we haven't met before. Raymond, thank you so much. Robin says, send this to Post Malone. Yeah, that would be dope. F. Schmidtick, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, especially folks from the Discord community, from the channel, and the new folks. But that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for hanging out. Make sure you watch this video if you didn't catch the whole thing after it's posted on ADSR's channel, and go back and watch the other videos because it's from start to finish. You'll get the whole process. But thank you so much for watching. This has been Taetro. Have a good one.